talk a little bit about this and that before we actually go live, because there is a lag for this to be on LinkedIn Live. So, welcome everybody. You might be listening to this on a recording, or you might watch us now really live on LinkedIn Live. I have with me today here, and I'm very excited about that, Torsten Kanngießer. He's from E.ON and is one of our speakers at the upcoming Lean Leader Summit in July in Munich. And at that event, Torsten will tell about data models for dashboard and steering your IT. But before we dive into that, Torsten, tell us and the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, many thanks for having me. So myself, Torsten Kanngießer, Head of Transparency and Performance at E.ON Digital Technology. And our job is to make the digital strategy somehow visible. So what do? We have three big buckets. One is a tool independent data model for the complete DT organization to make sure that all the IT for IT tools that we have can talk to each other. We use this for our second big bucket. It's our big data hub where we collect the data from all these different sources, sort them according to the model, and then the third big bucket is then our central dashboards where we look into how is the strategy that we want to implement at E.ON, implemented, how it is working, but also operational topics and everything. So we build up a chain of these three big topics to make everything that we want to see and that we need for steering somehow visible and independent from the ones who are doing it, because that's the main point in there.
Excellent. Cool. So how did you came to E.ON? What was kind of like your driver to join E.ON many years ago?
Many years ago, yeah. So I started my career in IT security, and it was I was coming there via a colleague that was working there for one of the former companies, and he invited me to join E.ON with this topic. It was then my first time and first year, more or less, at E.ON was or at Energy at the time, was then about this, IT security topics in the grid, so especially in the energy gas, but also electricity grids. And with those topics, I was quite happy, but then a colleague came around, oh, yeah, I have a nice idea for implementing something completely new in our IT. And I said, okay, it sounds completely ridiculous. We do it. It was this data model that we now provide. So therefore, coming from my history, as I worked in EAM for quite a time as a consultant before that, I said, okay, that's quite interesting. And especially on a scale like at E.ON, it's something that I say, okay, you shouldn't miss that opportunity. So I said, okay, I would do it. It was planned as a project for something around a year, perhaps 2 years. And now I'm doing it, it's the sixth year in a row. So therefore, and meanwhile, even as a line function. So you can see it starts small and it's just a fuzzy idea, but it's still there, and we use it now for quite a lot of stuff. We are charging our complete IT cost via this model, knowing exactly which piece of infrastructure is going to which product in our organization. We support security with it, so they always have up-to-date knowledge who's responsible for whatever CI they find in our networks with some vulnerabilities or whatever. The guys from data protection using it as well. Operations, of course, making sure that if they get a signal from our observability platforms, knowing exactly which service will be somehow impacted by this outages or whatever. So it is in the backbone of almost everything. Funnily, most people don't know it, so they're just using it. And whenever you come along, yeah, it's working because of us. They look a little bit irritated. Why? So we implemented more or less through the back door of every tool, and then also with our central sources. But it was, of course, a longer journey. And as you can see, with 6 years, it's still not over. It's going on. And I think my personal belief is it will never end, to be honest, because our IT is evolving from time to time. AI is a new topic. the complete API world, something that is always emerging and getting more and more. All these topics say, okay, we want to be somehow reflected in the data model. We have to show it where we're using whatever. And with all these topics, we will never get rid of our work. So
Yeah.
it's like an endless stream of fun.
It sounds like the fun, and I love your passion that you have for the transparency and defining the data model and collecting all the information to provide insights. But what I think is I mean, I had the pleasure of working with you in like some of the areas there, but I think what's really sets you guys apart is the breadth of the data collection that you do, but also the usage of the data. So I've seen a lot of organizations that said, oh yeah, I got my list of applications and I have XYZ of processes or of technologies or of costs. And I always refer to this kind of like, yeah, having is good, better than needing, but using and leveraging those informations is even better than just having, because just having that information doesn't get you anywhere. You need to kind of like use it for decision making, use it for insights and changing also bits and pieces here, because you learn something from the data. So is that something where you've seen kind of like the biggest success of the program with kind of like a widespread use, and maybe is there something where you can say this is a recommendation that you can let others know how to make use of the data collections?
Yes, completely with you. So the usage of the data is the key. Just collecting data is like living in an ivory tower. Nobody really cares if you're there or not. So our main points that we came up with over the years is give the data whoever wants it. Simple as it is. It sounds a little bit weird because in most organizations there's still quite a lot of silos. Everybody thinks, oh, something that I have to care about. I don't know what they're doing with it. Yeah, you simply don't have to care about because they're using it for their needs, and it's something that we really appreciate now. Just having something and then being surprised what people are doing about it and what they're using it for, and this shaped our perception of what we are doing quite a lot. We learned quite a lot about organizations themselves because they just simply said, we're doing something like that. And we were also surprised. But now everybody in this whole wide world, in our big E.ON family, now started to working on the same set of data. And even if we say the data quality is something that you always have to discuss about, and you will never reach 100%, we're all talking about on the same data stack. And that means for us, we're on the same page, we're starting on the same page, and we are discussing about the same information that we all have. And it makes life so much easier and reduces many of these little disturbances. Whenever you go to an organization and say, okay, how are you doing this and how are you doing that? And they come up with some KPI, said, oh, it's green and it's looking green here as well. And then you have the overall picture and you said, yellow would be nice. I think it's rather red. And because the complete chain doesn't work. And this is something that we try to avoid by this. Everybody's working on the same set. They're all getting the same data model. So they know exactly A stands for A. And it's the same A in the complete organization. It helps tremendously in getting consistent and reliable KPIs for steering the organization. So more and more people understand that what we are doing is not just making the backbone for quite a lot of IT for IT tools, what I really appreciate because it makes our life much, much easier. But they really understand this is something that allows us a consistent steering of the organization. And whoever is doing what knows what it has as implication for the others. So what we made up over the years with this data model, with the data hub, but also with the dashboards is more or less a digital twin of our IT. And this is, I would say, the central win that we made up. Meanwhile, the people even have a chance to use it the first I was thinking about how can we use it for simulation when we are screwing something up there, or what we have when we invent a new system over there. What is happening in this complete landscape, and not just on an application level, but what is done? What are the results for the costs? Are there any security issues about it? Whatever. And this idea of this digital twin brings us to a situation where we can react much, much faster, change much, much faster, but also be much more reliable because everybody really starts at the same point on that one. I think that's the biggest point that we made up with that one.
Great. I'm very excited for you to present that, but also like go a little bit deeper on it on our Lean Leader Summit, 2nd and 3rd July in Munich. For the audience, if you haven't signed up for it yet, we still have a few seats left. Just go to leanleadersummit.com and sign up. What you've been to the conference before, so what is something why are you coming back, and what do you like about like conferences or events in person in general?
So, of course, because of the host, what should I say? But besides that, of course, I think it's really the people. Just thinking about last year, it was really good. Some good, well spent time, I would say. All the talks that I had, besides the official talks that can be seen, or the workshop that we held, everything was really fine. But for me, the main point was really having people getting in real talk, then in between it. So all of about the networking stuff, and this is something that, besides all of the good stuff that we can do on a virtual level, and I would say quite a lot of talks are working, of course, on a virtual level as well. So you don't have to travel, I don't know, 24 hours to Singapore to get a good talk for 2 hours and then travel back for 24 hours. Doesn't make any sense at all. But meeting all these people in person and then get a different kind of spirit and all these talks, this is something that I really appreciate, that I'm really looking forward to as well for this year, because that's the reason that I come.
Excellent.
Besides of all the brilliant colleagues with their talks as well. But as said, meeting them then in between, this is the key for me.
And it's something where I encourage you now here, if you're watching to this, feel free to ask questions now, and we will happy to answer them now, or also monitoring the comments here afterwards if this is like if you watch it as a rerun. But it's also something that I feel very valuable about our conference, but like conferences in general, is that you have the opportunity to ask questions to kind of like speakers and kind of like pick the brains of different people and like put it a little bit into kind of like your context, because it's not just like a generic talk or a generic book, but you can say, hey, but how would you apply this maybe in my situation, or maybe not ask it like bluntly like this, but like guiding like, hey, what was kind of like an aspect to get some more nuggets out that's focused on a specific. So that's kind of like for me always something why I kind of like join and come to those or come to events. But if we look at kind of like the coming back to kind of like your data transparency and really unlocking those insights and the benefits. You used earlier the term kind of like you're helping and making it easier for people. I once had a client that I helped like set up something similar, and EA is a lot about transparency in your application portfolio, whatnot. But I think you with IT for IT brought it to a whole different level. The problem I had, or like I had this one person in a workshop there who was like very grumpy and like was totally opposed to what we were doing. And I bluntly asked him like, hey, what's wrong? What's kind of like your issue here? And he said then, okay, I'm blunt as well now. You make it harder for me to lie. And I don't like that. I cannot lie. Like, why is something taking so long? And just make something up that there was like lots of integrations or interfaces, or why kind of like we need all this money because this new technology came in, or we spend all this money on one of the big vendors. No, the transparency makes it harder to lie and therefore making up excuses. So did you ever come across that as well, where kind of like people didn't like the transparency?
Yes, to be honest, yes. So when just as a main point, one of our focus point, and I will come back to it in the talk then in Munich as well, is that we set up a central dashboard for our strategy implementation. Quite nice. The classical one for that is that the poor guys from strategy are starting half a month before, collecting all the data from the departments. They get a PowerPoint slide, whatever, and then they have to believe what's standing there. And to be honest, in most organizations, I had quite a lot of talks with others on that one. These are always green. It's this classical watermelon green, where it's green on the outside and red on the inside, because nobody wants to show exactly how worse it is really is on this level. So we're talking on people and our CIO using it, Sebastian Weber, or then even it is used then towards the E.ON board. So you don't want to tell those guys it's not working at the moment. On the other hand, and so especially in the beginning, when we said we want to calculate everything that we show in the strategic board as well from the raw data. I don't believe slides people sending me. We want them, whatever you trying to show, it must be somewhere in some of our data systems where we can see it in the raw data. It is working or it is not working. And it's something that we then aggregate, calculate, whatever. And this is a transparency that quite a lot of people are getting really, really nervous. But afterwards, everybody said, okay, of course, something's changed. And it's also then something that people think, sometimes the life before was better. But now we have a honest discussion. What is really happening and why is it happening? And this makes it much, much easier. And then when we say, it's simply not working the way we want to work it, then you can have the honest discussion. Okay, what we have to change that it will work. Because as a company, E.ON, we try to make this energy transition happen. This is our central core. And what we need for this is to be a digital company. And everything that we need for that is somewhere in IT systems. So if we want our business to be the partner for the rest of our complete environment, our customers, our partners, whoever, all the systems have really to work. There's no excuse. We simply couldn't say, tomorrow there's no electricity here in Essen because our IT system is not doing it. So we really have to take care about all this stuff. And with that in mind, this transparency is really, really needed. Without it, we couldn't make the shift towards this full digital company. That is a plan for us.
I love the analogy of the watermelon green. I think I have to steal that from you and use it in other contexts as well. I think it's a very common problem that people report something up as like green and nice and yes, but in the inside it's kind of like, no, we have some issues here and there, but if we report them up, then we get kind of like the trouble, and we already have trouble, and we need to fix the trouble. So don't like cause any more trouble.
Yeah. And this is in most cases the challenge. I think that people trying to avoid these faults, but to be honest, they are simply happening. We're always talking about IT industry. But to be honest, we are just 40, 50 years old. How much industry could we be in comparison to steel or for our core business, electricity? This is more than 150 years old. So sometimes we are a little bit more honest and say, okay, we try to keep up the pace to follow the rest of the business. But we sometimes need a little bit more. And then all these changes that are coming with that, how we produce IT and everything, this is then really needed to be transparent. All the discussions that we have, I talked to quite with colleagues using what we are doing, what is more or less an ERP system for IT, and in the end, they're using this simply normal supply chain, and they say, of course, we can't cheat with it. Because if, I don't know, this ingredients for oil chemicals is missing in Brazil, they're simply not producing, and everybody sees that. And this is something that we should, I think, be aware of, that what we are doing as an IT is not the support anymore. We're just there for providing email or everything else. It's getting more and more and deeper into this digitalization, and with AI, it's also getting a different push, I would say. With all this kind of, we really have to be honest and transparent on what we are doing. Otherwise, this digital journey wouldn't work, to be honest. So therefore, as I said, quite at the beginning, quite a lot of people were a little bit, oh, what will happen now? But meanwhile, I would say everybody, I would be so proud. I would say, yeah, everybody's really appreciating what we're doing, because it helps them seeing early what is happening, and even make it for them at the point visible that they don't have to report it upfront, because they see it at the bottom and they can somehow do something about it. Release a new feature before the old problems can somehow have impact on the business or whatever. So it changes the way how we are doing it. And I personally believe it is desperately needed for digitalization. If we are not transparent in how we're producing IT, it would simply not work. And it's still making out of a paper sheet a PDF. So what is this digitalization? It's nothing, to be honest. And then we really need a really full working IT, and therefore we need transparency about how we are, and what state we are, what we have to change, and where we're really good and where not.
Totally agreed, Torsten. And I also like how you put transparency as kind of like also your, isn't it like your group's name, or
Yep.
it's kind of like highly visible.
Exactly. So they know exactly what they can get from us.
Yeah. Well, excellent. So I would love to have way more conversations and way more chit chat with you. We're unfortunately kind of like, this is just a short LinkedIn Live here to get people to know about you, your work, which is, I think, extraordinary at E.ON, but also get here the word out that people can get to know more about you and transparency on IT at our Lean Leader Summit. So if you have questions to Torsten or myself on transparency and IT data, you can leave a comment here or wait for another 8 weeks and talk to us at the Lean Leader Summit in person. Thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you, Torsten, for being with us today, but also we really look forward to have you in July in Munich.
Thanks, was a pleasure.
Then have a good one, everybody.